Ministry in a Minute is a devotional presentation of the Crossroads School of Ministry. Whatever platform you're on, like, share, subscribe, help us get the word out about the Crossroads School of Ministry. And if you are a ministry leader or church leader or someone called to vocational ministry and you need training, Crossroads School of Ministry can help. Check us out online at crossroadsom.org, the Crossroads School of Ministry. Hey everybody, Dr. Greco here. Welcome to Ministry in a Minute. It's Friday. We've been moving through Psalm 1 all week. We've been talking a lot about worldview, just how important it is that we make a decision to look at God, look at the world through God's eyes and not look at God through our eyes. And not, I think sometimes we have opinions that we form based on our own experiences, which is okay, but we base them on our own feelings, and then we ask God to get involved. And God says, I know you have feelings, I gave them to you, but I want you to step away and look at everything through my eyes, God says. And his eyes are the Word. And Psalm 1 reminds us that our job as Christians, as we read through this book of poetry and worship and philosophy, our job is to make sure that we are prioritizing the purposes, the will, and the character of God and how we see things. That's a Christian worldview. We make decisions not based on what we want or what feels good to us, but based on what God says. And in the end of this, okay, God says, make a decision to follow me and not follow the world. And he says, he gives us a picture. If you do that, you'll be like a strong tree that gives good fruit. And he says, don't let the world throw you off track. And then he ends this with this statement in verse 6. And it's perhaps the most important reminder in this whole section. He says, for the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. And I believe that the most important phrase there is, the Lord watches over. Okay? What God ends this introduction to the Psalms with is his sovereignty. Okay? He reminds us that he's in charge. I don't think it's a threat, although the Bible says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. I believe it is a reminder that God's going to get his way. Philippians chapter 2, it says, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. God's going to get his way. It says, Paul said, God will not be mocked. Okay, so God is all powerful. We need to keep that in mind. Okay, I think sometimes we love the phrase in Hebrews that Abraham was considered a friend of God. I want to be God's friend. Me and God, we're chums. Remember, yes, you should be God's friend, but you're not his equal. God is in charge. And the key to the Christian worldview is remembering that God is in charge. He's active. Right now, he's involved in our world. Our prayers are heard, our prayers are answered, our prayers are effective, James says. Okay? But make sure we keep that in the front of our mind, that God is in charge. And when he tells us, I want you to look at the world through my eyes and I want you to apply it to your life, we should listen, because he's a sovereign God who, as the psalm reminds us, is watching over us. Great study this week on the Christian worldview. Really important that we preach this over and over and over again, that we live it out, that we talk about it. And we're really purposeful about looking at the world through the lens of God. He'll honor it. We'll see you next week for another Ministry in a Minute.